Two British men who were working as volunteers in Ukraine are missing. Christopher Parry, who's 28, and 48-year-old Andrew Bagshaw were last seen on Friday in the eastern Donetsk region, where fighting has been intense. It's understood Mr. Parry from Truro in Cornwall had been helping people evacuate the city of Bakhmut. The family of Mr. Bagshaw say he was delivering food and medicine and helping elderly people move away from the front line. Vincent McAviney reports.
This is Christopher Parry on Friday, racing through Bakhmut to save a civilian, Oksana, who's in desperate need of rescue. Filmed on Friday, the 28-year-old from Truro in Cornwall has been posting videos like this to document his aid efforts. But a few hours later, Christopher Parry and fellow British humanitarian 48-year-old Andrew Bagshaw went missing while helping to evacuate civilians near Soledar in the Donetsk region, where Russians' attacks have been focused in recent days. Neither man has been heard from or seen since. Ukrainian police are appealing for information. Christopher Parry, who's been in Ukraine since last March, is believed to have rescued hundreds of people from the front lines of the conflict over recent months.
Not experienced Christmas anymore either. It's very peculiar to be here. You kind of forget that it's Christmas still. I really have no idea, because there's no sign of it anywhere, of course.
The Foreign Office advises against all travel to Ukraine and has urged British citizens in the country to leave due to the risk to life. Nevertheless, in a statement, a Foreign Office spokesman confirmed, "We are supporting the families of two British men who have gone missing in Ukraine." Andrew Bagshaw's parents have released a statement saying they love him dearly and are immensely proud of the incredible work he has done to help people in challenging circumstances. British prisoners are considered high-value targets by Russia. In September, the Kremlin swapped 55 Russian troops in a deal that included 5 British prisoners of war. Ukraine has said it's strengthening its forces in the area they've gone missing. For both men's families, it's now an anxious wait for news on their sons. Vincent McAviney, BBC News.
And our correspondent Hugo Bagshaw joins me now from the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. Hugo, really tricky conditions in which to try to establish the whereabouts of the two men or find out any information about what happened to them. Do you have any updates?
Yeah, Anita, it is a very difficult search operation for these two men. This is a part of the country where fighting has been intense. We're still waiting to get an update from the officials in Donetsk, where this search operation is happening. Last night, the authorities said Christopher Parry and Andrew Bagshaw were traveling from Kramatorsk, which is a Ukrainian-controlled city in Donetsk, to the town of Soledar, where fighting has been intense in recent days. This is a town just miles away from Bakhmut. For weeks we've been talking about Bakhmut. This is a town that's seen some ferocious battles between Ukrainian forces and Russian troops, also mercenaries from that Wagner group. And I think as an indication of how difficult the situation is in that part of the country, we had an update from the British Defense Ministry this morning saying that Russian and Wagner forces were likely in control of most of Soledar. So that gives you an indication of how difficult this search operation has been in that part of the country. And last night, President Zelensky described the situation there as extremely difficult. He said reinforcements were being sent to that part of the country so Ukrainian forces can try to protect and defend this town of Soledar and also Bakhmut. So a very difficult situation for Ukrainian forces, and also very difficult search operation for the Ukrainian forces looking for these two British men who are missing.
There are reports here in the UK that the government is soon to confirm the delivery of tanks to Ukraine. This is something that President Zelensky has been asking for quite a while now. What difference does he think tanks, if they came from the UK and potentially from other Western nations as well, what difference does he think they would make?
Well, this is very significant because the Ukrainians have been saying that they need these tanks to carry out the ground offensive to take back territory that's now under occupation. So these reports followed the announcement that was made last week by the US, Germany, France, that they would be sending some fighting tanks to Ukraine. Obviously, the Ukrainians celebrated this news. But I think what is important here is that this could perhaps suggest a change in perception in Western countries. I think there was some reluctance to send those fighting tanks because that could be seen as an escalation by Russia, and that could trigger some kind of strong Russian response. And I think this has changed now, and we've seen in the last few weeks and months that Russia has suffered a number of military setbacks on the battlefield. So next week there will be a meeting of Western countries to decide how to continue to support Ukraine militarily. And I think this report that the UK will be sending some fighting tanks will be something that will be celebrated and welcomed by the Ukrainians here.
Okay, Hugo, thank you very much for that. Hugo Bagshaw in Kyiv.